All right, hello and welcome back. We are moving into Access Chapter 3, and I'm looking at the pause and practices from this chapter, and we'll break it up by 1, 2, and 3, and so forth. This is Placer Hills, which we've been working on. And if we were in class, I would go through this database, and I'm going to show you a few things on it just so you can recognize what's going on. But we have two tables. One is our agents table, which these are our real estate agents who work for us. And you can see we have 7 of them, Simon Beddoe all the way through Gerardo Montoya. And then we also have a table that is our listings. And these are houses that are for sale that we are trying to sell for our clients. One thing to point out on this is if you look in the far right column of this under agent, that you see a number of the agent that is attached to this particular listing. So 103 is, of course, right here, Simon Beddoe. And if you go through each one of those, like the fourth one down is 160, that is Jack Johnstone. So one of the things that's really important, we covered this in chapter 2, is tying these two tables together. And in this case, the agents, the primary key is the employee number. On the listings table, the listing ID is its primary number, but it's connected by the agent number, which this then becomes the foreign key. And we talked about that in chapter 2. And on this one, and you'll see this with the databases that you work on, that the relationship is already drawn from the employee number, like Simon Beddoe's 103, is the listing number down here. And you see it's a one-to-many relationship, which means that Simon's number of 103 can only appear one time on this table, but on the listings table, he can have several houses that he is attached to. And we can see that because of the little relationship that's drawn. These are all the houses that Simon is trying to sell. Okay, so that is a one-to-many relationship. This is from the other table. This is from the listings table of all of Simon Beddoe's listings. So that's a little bit of a recap on what we were doing in chapter 2. So what we're going to do in chapter 3, and I'm going to go ahead and close this, get back to our main section, is we're going to create queries, which queries is another term for question. So we're going to question the database to pull information out from the database, and we can pull information from other queries. We can query a query, we can query a single table, we can query multiple tables. So we're going to learn how to do that procedure. So one of the things that you'll be recognizing under create is a query section. And under queries, you can use a wizard or a design query. Now the query wizard is okay for doing something very, very basic, but we're going to focus on query design. And this procedure is the same for every query that we create. You get our design grid, and in this case, we are going to add both tables. So we're going to add the agents and the listings table. This is also looks like your relationship window, and I always encourage students to resize their windows to make sure they can see everything, all the different fields. And also you want to recognize that a relationship will be shown on this, and if you're using tables and where you're needing information from 2 different tables, but a third table is needed for the relationship, you want to make sure you add that particular table because you want to see this relationship, how the tables are tied together. Okay, so we have both those added, and we've closed that particular show table dialog box. And there are 3 ways of adding information down to our grid. This is where we build our query. We can click and drag like so. Okay, that's one way. We can use the drop down and pick which table we want or field, or the way I like is I like to double click. The reason I show all 3 is your guided project will have you do different methods of possibly clicking and dragging, okay, or by using the drop down arrow down here. So you can do it any of those ways. We're going to use the double click. So listing ID is our first one. Okay, it's added to the first column. Then we're going to add address. Okay, and we're going to then do city. That becomes our third column. List price. So we go back up. Notice it's in a different order. Square footage. Beds, baths. Keep building it out, asking whether it has a garage or what type. And then over here, we're going to add the first name and the last name of the agent and their phone number. And down here, I can scroll to the right to make sure that it's been put in there. Okay, note that the last three fields came from the agents table. So we're not going to put any criteria on this one yet, but you can see when we run it, we pull all that information, pulling a little bit from each particular table. This is 57 records because we have 57 listings. If I wanted to alter this and make some changes, I can go back to design view and tweak it a little bit. And we're going to do that here in just a minute, but I'm going to go ahead and save this query also. And I'm going to call this one show all listings. Okay, and then that becomes a permanent part of my database. I can go over here and I'm not sure if this is just showing my tables right now, but I want to show all access objects, but I have saved that. It showed all listings. Not sure why it's not showing up over here on the left at this point. Let's resize that. Okay. Could be because it's open. All right. But we'll leave that open for now. But what that means is that when I close it, there it is. Okay. I can rerun that at any time. So if I sell a house tomorrow, this would just show 56 listings, or if I add 3 more, it would show 60 listings. So it always pulls from the original 2 tables and updates at that point in time. Okay, so we're going to go back to design view, and we're going to add some criteria to this and say, let's say that we only wanted to go under city and we wanted to find Roseville. This is a city. So I just type in Roseville. It's got to be spelled correctly. Notice the quotation marks were added automatically. Okay, so either way, you don't have to put that in. And when I press tab, it puts those quotation marks in there. So when I run this one, okay, so notice it, same information, but it just pulled out those from Roseville. So you can see how you can quickly do a query for that. Now the problem is this one's still called show all listings. So I want to save this, but as a new name. Make sense? So if you take an existing query and you want to save it as a second query with a new name, you go File, Save As, and Save Object As. And then we go Save As here. We don't want to call it a copy, of course, but we're going to call it Listings in Roseville. And click OK. Our second query has been created. You can see it over here on the left. Okay. So if I wanted to go back to, and I could close this for instance, but if I wanted to go to the show all listings, I can right click on it. That's another way to go into design view. And we're going to make a third query out of this one, giving it a new name. So let's say on this one, we wanted to find all listings that have an attached garage. This one's a little bit tricky because if you look under listings, under garage, we have all sorts of varieties. We have no garage, 3-car attached, 2-car attached, we have detached. Well, one thing's for sure, we're wanting to find all those that have the word attached in this particular one. Well, the problem is, if I just put the word attached, there's not going to be an exact match, is there? Because we've got 2-car attached, we've got 3-car attached. We don't have any that just say attached. Well, I can't put 2-car attached because that would skip out on the 3-car attached. So I want to have something that will say, I want the word attached in there, but anything before it is okay, whether it's 1-car, 2-car, or 3-car. Okay, so what we'll do on that, so we know we have a criteria under garage. So I can't put attached, right? I can't do that because if I run it, guess what's going to happen? Nothing matches that. Okay. So attached by itself is not going to work. So what we can do is we can put what's called in a wildcard, and I can put the word like, and then in quotation marks, I'll put asterisk, which means anything goes before the word attached, and then close quotes. That's called a wildcard. And when I run that, you can look under my garage, and they all are some sort of attached garage. Okay, so wildcards are an important part of what we do with queries. And there's really in your sim book, there's some good discussion on wildcards of using the asterisk, but also using the question mark. For instance, you can use the question mark to find exact number of digits. Like if you were looking for phone numbers where the area code began with the number 9, you could put in the criteria 9 question mark, and then you could put 9 different question marks, so the numbers would be exact with that. And they discussed that one as well. If you wanted to find a song title that began with the word love, you could put love asterisk. So as long as the word love started the procedure. If you wanted it just in the title, you could do asterisk love asterisk. So anything before, anything after, as long as it contained the word love. So there's some good reading on that. I suggest that you look at that. They also get into number wildcards, which is the number sign. So familiarize yourself with some of those different examples. Okay, so that is 3-1. Good luck as you get started on this. I really like the next lesson, which gets into some different types of queries that we will see.